When it comes time to difficult decisions.
Hello, thank you for watching Taxpayer Alert. I'm Al Segalla, and will be your moderator for the 11th edition. Our guest is Merita Callaway, Supervisor, Calaveras County, and probably the remaining institutional memory that we have. Merita, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Oh, thanks. Well, I've been on the board for 20 years, and I have a background. I was the mother load manager for Pacific Gas and Electric Company. I've owned my own business. I've lived in the city. I've lived in the country. And I've lived in Calaveras County for about 26, 27 years and raised my daughter here. And it was just a serendipity moment that had me become a supervisor.
What have you enjoyed most since you've been a supervisor? Do you remember some things that you thought were just
Yes,
great?
I do. I remember quite a few things, but mostly it's the person who calls me and they have an issue that they need taken care of. I had a call recently about a constituent has an issue with a realtor. Another constituent has an issue with a neighbor who's a little extravagant, sort of a troublemaker. I have an issue with a boundary line adjustment. We're going to be putting in the trail from Pine Drive to Oak Circle. That's sort of been in the works for many years. So most of the things I do are short-term and trying to look for what the long-term is. So, yeah.
Rita, what are some of the challenges that you faced that you wish never happened?
I can't tell you.
That's a secret.
It's a secret.
But you have had
There have been things that have happened. Usually they're quite sad and involve constituents who've had issues that are hard to deal with. And I wish they didn't happen. I have an issue with someone who is mentally ill, and yet you can't just take someone who's mentally ill and force them into treatment if they don't want to go. So there's the hazmat team had to come out to one of the houses that we had to take care of, and it was very sad. So most of the things the challenges have been sad ones. So I don't like to talk about them.
Yeah, I can understand that. I've noticed the supervisors belong to different groups, and they attend a lot of other organizations and structures, quasi-government structures that are involved in a lot of different
You sound
things.
like Mike Delorto. Mike Delorto also called them quasi-government structures.
Well, tell us a little bit about your activities with these groups. Some of them I'm aware of, and other ones
Okay, I am the board's representative on the California State Association of Counties. I mean, I'm the board's representative to the ones I mentioned.
Right.
Each of the board members have their own organizations or committees that they're on. I'm on the Central Sierra Child Support Joint Powers Authority. I am on the Area 12 Agency on Aging. I'm the chair now on that one. I'm on the rural, we just changed the name of it, but the Rural County Representatives of California. I'm on their executive committee too. I have activities within just my district that I participate in, not as a board appointee, but because they're groups like Ebbets Pass Property Owners Council, the Greater Arnold Business Association, the Murphy's Business Association. These are things that I go to because those are part of the community I represent.
Also, chamber. We see you at the chamber.
The chamber.
Mentions.
I used to be president of the chamber. Oh. Yeah.
That's quite a background. We've had some interesting things happen recently. One of them was a budget that was voted down and then voted to be passed, and it put us in the hole, I think, $7.1 million. And part of that is some funds that are retrievable through, I think, Teeter. But being in the hole that much is not a good thing, considering what's happened to other communities, like Detroit.
Or Stockton.
Yes, and there's a lot of other ones too.
Orange County.
And so, what do you see? Okay, tell us about the budget.
All right, I have to go back pre Prop 13.
Right.
I promise I won't make this a long story.
Oh, you're 12 then.
Pardon?
You're 12 years old then.
I was 12 years old. Yeah, 12 years old. Yeah, 12 years old. I'll take it. And the culture of the Calaveras Board of Supervisors is to be fiscal conservatives. And because the culture was fiscal conservative, post Prop 13, the county only gets 16.5 cents for every property tax dollar that the taxpayers in Calaveras pay. So the general fund gets 16.5 cents. The road department gets 1 cent out of the property tax dollars, and the rest goes pretty much to education.
A question on that. Does the road department get any gas tax money?
Yes, they do. Then everything else they get, the 1 cent amounts to maybe $700,000. And the rest of the money all comes from the state. Highway users tax, motor vehicle, and so forth. There's other funding. That's a whole subject unto itself. So that money is fixed. That 16.5 cents is fixed. That's all we get. That pays for all the public service departments, pays for animal services, assessor, treasurer, auditor, GIS, insurance, part of trial court security, the Board of Supervisors, administrations, grounds. All of that's paid for out of 16.5 cents. So fast forward to this budget year. The board at preliminary budget voted on a 4-to-1 vote. I was the one vote to take money from the what's called fund balance, money not spent in the general fund that carries over, and the prior boards have done that too, and to take money from Teeter. That's really one-time money, because Teeter, you don't know what you'll get. I mean, if everybody paid all their taxes on time, there'd be zero money in Teeter.
Tax penalties.
Or the tax penalties. Yeah. And the board made the decision to use that money for technology. Technology's expensive. A server goes down, you have to replace it, or you want to put in a new program, which we did in Human Resources. That's general fund money. It would come out of Teeter.
Right.
So there was, I don't know, let me say $6 million in the Teeter fund, and that goes up or down. And the board took a little over $3 million from that to balance the budget. Plus, we took money from the fund balance, the money that wasn't sent by the general fund departments, to balance the budget to the tune, as you said, a little over $7 million.
Yeah.
Okay, so the board added new positions and other things and at recommended budget. Okay, that was in June. Fast forward to September, and in September, the final budget comes, and under the Government Code, California Budget Act, we have to have an approved budget by October 2. So at the last meeting in September, the administrative office brought the budget, and the auditor brought the budget back for approval. There were probably some minor changes that usually happens. And I called for the vote, and 2 of the board members changed their vote. So it became 3-2 not to approve the budget. Well, you would think Merita Callaway would be pretty happy about that, because she finally got 2 supervisors to agree. Well, it was one pretty late in the game. So we fast forward a couple of agenda items later, took the vote, I moved on, and the district attorney was before us. And the district attorney had a grant for DUI enforcement, legal enforcement from her office, and the board approved it. Well, that was nice, except she couldn't spend the money because there was not approved budget. So I thought, well, this is kind of foolish. And I thought, well, we could have another budget hearing. I mean, we had about 3 days left. We could have another budget hearing, bring staff in, discuss the budget. Just like Congress, we were acting just like Congress, in my opinion. I mean, I'm just as much a part of that. So I brought the budget back and said that I would change my vote to approve. I think my position has always been quite clear on why I didn't support the budget. So I brought it back, and it was approved 5-0. So you could say drunk driving caused me to change my vote.
I understand that the underlying problem, the county did balance its budget a while back, and we had a tremendous loss of value, assessed value due to the real estate crash.
Correct.
And so when that assessed value came in, it brought less income in to the county.
Correct.
And so it was not sustainable.
Correct.
And the hope was that maybe it'll come back up quick.
No.
But it didn't happen.
No, I don't think we thought it would come back quickly. And the board did take steps. I mean, we had hiring freezes, we had layoffs, we had cuts in services and supplies, and we made the tough decisions that needed to be made, as other counties did. But I'm just concerned about my county, to balance the budget. You cannot continue to spend more than you bring in, and we can't revenue our way out of this. And the improvement in the economy is slow.
Right.
It's not coming back as fast as it fell. This year, the assessor told us that the assessed value was going to be 0.45% of 1%. Well, for me, that's at least a positive. Mm-hmm. It's on the positive side, not the negative side. Right. So, yeah, it's changing, but it'll be slow, and we need to consider all the needs of the county.
It's kind of difficult, but these decisions have to be made. In addition to the 7.1 million, there's a reserve that is really recommended that the county have.
Correct.
For contingencies, and I'm not sure how many million that would be, but it could, if it were 3 million, that would bring it up to 10 million to try to claim out of.
Correct.
And the total budget, what is the total budget?
Well, the total budget for the general fund's about 33 million, just for the general fund.
So that's like a third. That's like a third of the budget.
Oh, it's been, I would say going back to 06-07, it was about 50 million. So there's been a substantial drop in the general fund revenue and expenses. I mean, you're right, the real estate market had an impact, construction has an impact,
right.
Vehicle license fees, sales tax, all had an impact on the downturn in our economy.
So looking ahead, There's going to be a mid-year budget adjustment, I think, for,
Depends on where the board is at that time. We will
You mean mentally?
possibly, they're very good mentally. Probably in, I would think maybe January, February, we'll have a 6-month review.
okay,
And if we have to take steps to curtail spending probably, then that would be a time to do it. But I don't know where the board will be on that.
you know, or also what could be cut without hurting the important, most important functions.
I have to tell you, what are the most important functions? I mean, we've gone from, in the last about 6 years, 5 years, about 325 employees in the general fund to about 255, 250, 255, 260 employees. So we've cut the staff 30, 35%, general fund,
Right.
I'm just talking about. But the needs haven't stopped.
Right.
I mean, we still need an assessor, a treasurer, an elections department. We still need GIS. I mean, everybody says, well, we need law enforcement. Yeah, but we need a DA and a probation.
Jail.
And a jail. And that's going to be an increased cost for us this budget, 13-14 budget year. I mean, public defender, that grand jury. I mean, 16.5 cents pays for all these things.
Right.
The building department, which is sometimes permit covered, if it not, code enforcement. So what the services still, services still need to be provided because that's what the public wants.
I understand that California law hinders local governments contracting out or privatizing functions with certain exceptions.
Well, I don't know. I know you talk about that a lot. But if you remember when there was a huge building boom, predominantly in your area, I mean where you live, we hired plan checkers
Yeah, I remember
and
that.
building inspectors.
Yes.
And not that we couldn't do that again. I mean, we have only one plan checker now.
Right.
But we also found there were problems doing that because there's certain things that are unique to Calaveras that might not be to a private individual. I mean, I'm not saying we shouldn't look at it. I think you get a really good return on your investment. You're getting pretty much the same services now that you used to get, maybe not as fast, and it takes a little longer, but if you contract it out, then you're going to be paying the M&O cost, an overhead cost for that private business. You know, I've worked with, I remember the septic inspectors. They were grousing about our rules, most of which are state mandated anyway.
Right.
But so we said, okay, what would you like to change? Would you like us not to inspect the holes that you dig or the system you put in? No, we want you to. And so there were some things, you know, that we agreed to that we wouldn't do and things that we would. They wanted inspections. They want the homeowner to know that what they did was quality work. And having an inspector, independent inspector, do that gave everybody a comfort level.
I understand that there was a controversy with the septic in which the state had a cookie cutter.
Oh, yeah, they did. We did not support it. In fact,
Yeah.
Brian Moss, who's head of environmental health, he and I were talking about that yesterday, about the Coupa program and how the county did not support it. So anyway, I think people in Calaveras get a pretty good deal. We're very accessible. The supervisors are, the staff is. I'm really proud of the staff of Calaveras. And
You know, to piggyback on what you said, Merita, you mentioned Brian Moss. Brian received our award for excellence in government service.
yeah, I'm waiting for me to get it out. Think
We
that'll
haven't
ever
done
happen?
we haven't done a supervisor yet. This is interesting. Now, one of the things that the Taxpayer Association is concerned with is to having a business-friendly environment where we can actually, people who want to come here can do things without having their project destroyed through the planning process.
Well,
But even more important than that is even when there's not projects, it's just like to get a business permit. We have a case of medical marijuana people. I read in the Enterprise that they're having a long delays in getting their approval for their.
No,
they have
they're
to go
not.
Well, according to the paper, it looked like it was several months, and then and apparently it was turned over to the not district attorney, but the county council to handle.
okay, well, let me kind of clarify.
All right, thank you.
Okay, we have one dispensary in the county that did everything according to the code.
Okay.
When we put the ordinance together, you might remember, we had the district attorney, we had the police chief, we had the sheriff, we had pharmacists, and we had doctors, part of the group. Public meetings we had in the boardroom. I think we had about 6 or 7 of these meetings. From that, and it was before the state made the decision of how many plants, Is this a health issue or is this a drug issue?
Recreational drug.
Oh,
yeah.
it's, it was a mess when 215 came out. Nobody knew how to handle it. So we have a dispensary here, or a collective, that did everything by the book. All the requirements from the sheriff's office and the codes that were set up. Okay, so we now have, I think, 4 more dispensaries. Okay, the board has said one of the high priorities, that's what the board's charge is, set priorities, is to come up with a new ordinance for medical marijuana. The laws have changed, the state Supreme Court's made different decisions, and the legislature, California legislature. So we need to update it, we know that. We sent letters to 3, and now it's now 4, of the dispensaries and said you have 2 months to come into compliance or try to, or work on it.
Yeah.
Or you have to shut down. So we have one dispensary that has submitted the paperwork to start the process to come into compliance. The big issue is zoning.
Zoning change.
Is the zoning. The zone allowed for dispensaries is professional, the commercial CP, commercial professional. And there's not a whole lot of them. That was one way the board could control where these places were located. I mean, they're usually not near schools.
Yeah.
They're little isolated pockets. So the one in Arnold is complying, has submitted, so we probably won't push on that. So there's 2 things going on. One is now we're going to have to enforce the letter that we sent out. I'm not sure how that's going to be done. It is with county counsel's office with a member of the staff. Another member of the staff is reworking the ordinance that will come to the board and, of course, be a public process.
What sort of costs are those business people facing because of county activity? In other words, do they have to pay a lot of fees to get zoning changes?
Same as you. Same as anyone else, because what they're doing is requesting a rezone. And a rezone request is no different if they want to go from a commercial 1 to a commercial 2, or in this case, a commercial 2 to a commercial C professional.
Wow, it's hard to.
So it's the same.
Yeah.
We're not charging them anymore.
What are your positions on grants. What's your position on grants?
Well, Mr. Segalla, I'm so glad you asked that question. I am sure my position is not quite the same as your position, since I have heard you say, don't support this grant, don't support this grant. But I will tell you, that is the system we have in the state of California. That is the system we have in the United States. They're federal and state grants. It'd be nice to say, you know, don't do grants, then how does that pocket of money get to the end user, which for me is local government? But grants provide us road and bridge money. The sheriff's office this year is budgeted about $800,000 in federal and state grants, of which I think about 175, if I remember, thousand is for marine safety, which is in your backyard. Lake Tulloch is part of that. We have over 300,000 in grants for drug enforcement. Environmental health, Brian Moss's department, is pretty much paid for with grant funds. The district attorney has a little over 200,000 in grant money. And if we didn't use that, then the 16.5 cents would be used to subsidize that. And there would be even more draconian cuts to county government.
Do you have concerns about strings attached to this money that comes to us?
None. It is no different than saying Measure J money that we passed as voters in Calaveras can only be used for the sheriff's office. And when you apply for a grant, you apply for it to do something, to fix your roads, to fix your bridge, to have marine safety, you know. So it's not, well, I'll apply for marine safety grant and use it to, you know, carpet the boardroom at the supervisor's chambers.
How do you set priorities?
Well, I guess I have short-term, long-term priorities. And short-term would be like today, whatever the date is, December 19th. I contacted Senator Feinstein's office because I wanted her support on the PILT funding for Calaveras, well, for the PILT funding period, of which the county's budget about, I think, $88,000. Well, you know, if we don't get it, that's $188,000 in general fund revenue we don't get. We've also supported with the new changes in air pollution, which changes in trucks, because transportation makes up about 45% of air pollution, that they, for the small business owner or small trucker, they extend the time frame where they have to retrofit their vehicles. So these are short term. The Senate Bill 740, which was Padilla's bill, he supported getting funding for, additional funding for broadband through the Public Utilities Commissions, where it'll be funded. Well, I support those things, and they're all short term. So, and then there's long-term funding. An example would be the board will be, I hope, it's not over till it's over, be paying $80,000 for the jail and the sheriff's office to get primary electric service. And that'll save us long-term on the electric bill for those two facilities.
Merita, we need more time because we just touched the surface of these issues, and there's so many other questions that we could ask. And
well, maybe the taxpayers will invite me back, Mr. Segalla.
yeah, we ought to have another meeting. We want to thank you for watching Taxpayer Alert. I'm Al Segalla. I'm president of the Calaveras County Taxpayer Association, and our guest was Merita Callaway this time, and we enjoyed Merita.
Thank you. I did too.